Hi, and welcome back to another AnyRPG Development Livestream. In this video series, I livestream the development of the AnyRPG Engine, a free and open source role-playing game engine designed in Unity and written in C#. If you don't already have a copy of AnyRPG, you can pick one up from anyRPG.org/downloads in both Unity package and source code format. You can also download A Lost Soul, the free playable game that I work on in these episodes, at the same page. In this episode, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. It's going to be a process video, and what we're going to do is basically go through the process to clean up assets from a third-party asset source that isn't the asset store. In order to get ready for the release of A Lost Soul Chapter 2 and AnyRPG 0.8 Alpha, I'm just cleaning up the main capital city right now. And so the main capital city in this game is called the Sun Temple, and this is a free asset that's available from the asset store that I'm using as the base for this. It's a very nice asset because it's basically an entire city ready to go. And I'm just filling it out with some stuff. So over here, I've created a Woodworkers Guild, and this Woodworkers Guild is made of basically assets that are available for free on the asset store, so it was pretty easy to create. These logs over here and the trees and the wood planks and the fences are all included as part of the Sun Temple, and same with the pallets and the all the things right here that are over top of the wood, and then same with the furniture. It's part of the Sun Temple, and then this woodworker guy over here is a free asset available on the asset store, and same with this house. It's part of the Sun Temple, and then this bench is part of a free asset. These saws and boxes are all available on the asset store, and I'll show you where to get those in a second as well. And then I've made a bank over here as part of this capital, and this was pretty easy because the building was already here, so I just added some porticos and then added these little gold grills here, and then just filled in to make it look like there's some bank teller windows in here because it just used to be an open basement. And then we have this rather trustworthy looking cat here with this treasure chest, and then a bunch of gold piles and chests and stuff in the back, and that was all free assets off the asset store, which I'll show in a second as well. And then similarly, I made an alchemy guild, and that was pretty easy because it's all just free assets off the asset store. I just sort of emptied out this restaurant patio area out here and filled it out with like some writing quills and a few scrolls, and then these cabinets full of potions right here, these awesome empty jars, and then this alchemy workbench with more potions and jars and like mortar and pestle and stuff, as well as some more shelves full of different potions and jars over here. And then this dude actually came from Sketchfab. He's a monk because I couldn't really find an alchemist. So if you go to the Unity asset store, you can see these types of assets. We've got this nice gold coins asset, which I got. We have this nice medieval gold asset. We've got this really cool treasure chest, and these all import quite easily. We have the character elf right here, and these are all completely free as well. There's that bat cat with the treasure chest, and then this is the Mega Fantasy Props pack, and this is where we got like the planks of wood and stuff from. And then the Sun Temple asset was just awesome because, you know, it's a complete level ready to go pretty much. And then I think I had some potions over here from the Fantasy Treasure Pack Light. There's this awesome free Witchcraft and Wizardry asset pack, and it's got all the empty jars and bottles in it. And then this RPG Food and Drinks pack has some more potions. And then this Low Poly Weapons pack actually has some cool potions in it as well, so I used that. And then we've got this low polygon potions pack here, which has the empty jars and the filled jars, like 25 different shapes. This is just an incredible asset. I love it. And then this potions pack over here from Game Plan VFX, and it's got like just a whole pile of empty different potions and bottles and stuff. And they kind of look 2D here, but they are totally 3D. They're amazing. They even come with like animations and stuff too. So these were all really, really easy to import, because when you import something off of the asset store, it's already in a format Unity can understand, and basically, you know, you can just head into the file system and and import the thing. Let's look at something that was like a Unity import here. Here, we'll click on this, and then that'll take us to this right here, and then we can hit select. There we go. So this is the potion. You know, it came in, it's like already colored, it's ready to go. All the colors are already applied to it, and so it looks good. Now, what I'm going to do is concentrate on the things that you can't find in the Unity Asset Store today. So let's take a look at sewing, and we're going to click the free button. And hey, look, there's nothing free at all in the Unity Asset Store when it comes to sewing other than these sewing machine sounds. So this means we're going to have to go off and find them somewhere else. So in this episode, let's show the process for finding assets for free that aren't available on the Asset Store. They take a little bit more effort to import, and the results are totally worth it. So if we head over to my favorite free site here, Sketchfab, and we type in sewing, and we click the downloadable button, and wow, look at this, just pages and pages and pages full of stuff, right? Lots of really cool stuff we can use, and some of this is paid, but if you look right here, you can see there's a $sign, so you can buy that. But look right here beside it, there's one without a $sign. It's totally free. Doesn't cost a thing, and it's just as good as that paid one right there. So this is incredible. We've got a great source of stuff here. Wow, pincushion. I didn't even see that one yesterday. I think I just might download this as well. It looks a little newer. You know what? That could work in medieval times. The pins are maybe a little new. Okay, maybe we'll skip this one for now. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to bookmark that for later, because that's kind of a cool one anyway. So here's what I found. I found this really cool sewing box, which I want to use. I found this sewing mannequin, which I want to use. I found this really cool spinning wheel right here. I found this space cat. And space cat over here has like a bunch of balls of yarn below him. And so I want to open up the FBX file that comes with this and see if I can pull out just the balls of yarn and ignore space cat there. We've got this cool Romano-British bone needle. We have a button. It's kind of modern, but yeah, maybe it won't be too noticeable. And then another button. And then we have this really cool bone button here, which is totally like more in line with the whole medieval theme that I'm going for. And then we have like this old...
The artifact I got was a thimble. A thimble is something you put over your thumb that protects it from being poked by a needle while sewing.
Wow.
They're usually made of metal.
There's sound on that. Okay. And then we've got this other thimble right here, and this cool kind of like bone needle here, and then we've got another cool bone needle here, and then there's this, which is just incredible because it's got lots of pins inside, and then it's got like thread wrapped around there, and then this awesome vintage sewing machine here, and then this other cool sewing machine here, sort of Victorian looking, and a third Victorian sewing looking machine. This is the Willsbury, and then this was the Singer 15, and then this was just like a vintage Christoph Columbus. And then while I was in here, I just found some cool guys as well, like this assistant priest, which looks really cool, as well as this lich, which has nothing to do with sewing, but I just stumbled upon him, and he's going to be used in an upcoming dungeon if we can import him. And then Hook here as well. He came from Sketchfab. So when you import these assets usually need a little bit of cleaning up because the textures and stuff aren't necessarily going to be in a format that that Unity can just use right out of the box. Even though they say Unity compatible, it needs a little bit of cleanup. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to import this stuff, and I'm going to show basically how to determine if it's basically good enough or worth using in your game. So I've downloaded all those assets, and what I usually like to do is I just stick them all in a downloads folder here, and then just go through and test them one by one, and if I like them, then I'll move them over to like another folder where I've organized basically all my assets into like characters and props and weapons and stuff like that. So We'll start and we'll just pull in, let's see, the first one on my list here, which is the assistant priest. And we'll let Unity import that, and it comes in like this. One thing to note here, when you're dragging them out of Explorer, for some reason, if I drag with the left mouse button, it doesn't work sometimes, so I always drag with the right mouse button when I'm dragging these in here. So in this folder, we've got our assistant priest, we got a source, and we have this unit mod right here. And what we see is that he is completely gray. So we don't want that. We don't want a gray character. We want him to have some color. And so when we go into the materials here, we can extract our materials, and we're going to do that basically. So I'm going to click on extract materials and just select whatever default folder. It's just going to put them in the same folder as the character here. And now we have some materials. And you can see that Unity has the wrong color here. So we're just going to change the color to white instead of black. And now we've actually got a material here. And we're just going to change this one to white instead of black, and now we've got a material. So let's go and look at our guy here, and we're going to drag him into the scene, and he is super tiny. So we want him to be a little bit bigger than this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go into the model here and apply a scale factor of maybe 10 and just see how that turns out. Still a little small, so it looks like this guy actually needs a scale factor of about 100. So we'll hit apply. Okay, that's a little better. He's short, but this guy's pretty tall. This guy's like 2 meters tall, and our priest is also kneeling down right now. So this is probably about the right size for him. He looks pretty cool. And let's just take a look at his animation tab here. So this is amazing because this guy, unlike a lot of guys, he comes with a lot of really cool animations out of the box. So let's just hit play. There he is, he's getting up. So this is rad because, I mean, you're lucky if most characters come with like 2 or 3 animations, and he has so many cool animations, just so many cool ones. Like, wow. I can just imagine how that's going to look when I put some cool effects around that. So this guy's good. I like it. We're pretty much done with him. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to drag it into the characters folder right here. And now I've got him with the rest of my characters for when I actually need to use him in the game. So now we're going to go back to the downloads folder here. I'm just going to take my assistant priest and I'm going to drag him into characters because I now know that he's good, and we'll go on to the next import. So the next thing that I have to import is this Bobbin Needlecase-wood. And if we open this up, we'll see the same thing. We'll see a source folder here. And what happened is Unity isn't going to show us this because what this actually is a GLB file, and Unity doesn't import these directly. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on this and we're going to go edit with Paint 3D. That's right, Paint 3D to the rescue. Imagine that. We're going to be using this Microsoft program here, and we're just going to go to the menu here and we're going to click Save As, 3D Model, and ZXT. We're just going to drop down here to FBX and hit Save. Now, there we go, done. Okay, so now that we've got an FBX file, I'm just going to drag that up here, let Unity import it, and I'm just going to delete that old ZXT because we don't need it. All right, so if we look at the model here, you'll notice something. It's got the wrong textures on it. This is like a lava texture that's in the thing, so it's applied the wrong textures. So what we want to do is we're going to go to materials here, and this is really cool because it's actually got the textures inside of the model. Even though there's a textures folder here with all the textures, we could try to apply these manually, but this is really neat. Not all of them come like this. We're going to hit extract textures and just hit select folder. and it's going to pop all the textures out. And now we've got some nice textures. And if we click on this model again, you'll notice that it's now applied them. So the reason that it had the wrong textures before is because I've already got a texture called 5 somewhere in my project. And because the 5 was like embedded inside here, Unity couldn't find it in the file system and couldn't apply it. But now that 5 is sitting in the same directory, it properly applies it. And there's my needle case looking nice and ready to use. So let's just drag that into the scene here. And actually, you know what I'm going to do is I don't want to actually have all these guys in my alchemy guild here. So we're just going to delete our priest here because we don't need him. And I'm going to go up to where I actually want to put all the sewing stuff in here. So I'm going to have my sewing guild here, and I'm going to call it Threads of Light. And we've got this nice little building that comes with the Sun Temple, and it's ready to go. But it's kind of like a library right now. So what we want to do basically is just like get rid of all these bookshelves and stuff. So you know what? I think I will unpack all the bookshelves. Okay, let's actually just click on that there. Okay, so this is part of building long triangular building interior A. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to pull that all the way out, and then I'm going to collapse this built-in right here where I put everything, because the Sun Temple has like a flat hierarchy, which is extremely difficult to work with because it has like thousands of items in it. So we're just going to create a new empty here. We're going to reset the transform, and we're going to call this our Tailor's Guild, and we're going to pop the building inside of here. Let's just unselect it. Good, that's our entire Tailor's Guild. Perfect. So now what I want to do is I'm just going to unpack this prefab so that I can start pulling stuff out without deleting the entire thing. So for example, the bookshelves here, we don't need the bookshelves really, so we're just going to delete that and get rid of that one and get rid of that one, and now we've got a little bit better of an empty room where we can start putting in our sewing machines and stuff. So let's take our ZXT and just drag it into the scene here, and honestly that's looking super tiny, so wow. Also, we're going to pull our ZXT out, and we're just going to recollapse that building and pull the ZXT under it, and then hit F to focus on it, and you can see it's super small. So what we want to do is change the scale on that as well. I think in this case, I think I can just uncheck that. Perfect, and now it's the right size. So we just didn't want to convert units in this case. So now this looks good. I like it. If I middle click and go Control Alt F, no, interesting. Okay, usually if you do pivot, it'll actually put it like on the floor, but I don't know why that's not working. But this is looking good. I like it. So ZXT is good, and now I'm just going to take this whole folder with the Bobbin Needlecase, and I'm going to move it into props. And then we'll try out the next asset. So we've got a bone button here. So let's just clean this up actually in the downloads folder. We know that this Bobbin Needlecase is good, so we're just going to move it into the props folder here. Go back to downloads and pull in our bone button. And this is an OBJ file, it looks like. And it's taking an awfully long time to import. Something's happening. Okay. All right. Looks like we got it here. Let's go take a look at what we got. So I'd unzipped a zip file in there. We don't need the zip file because I've already extracted that, I think. You know what? Let me just check if there was anything else in there. There was nothing else in there. It was just the OBJ file. Okay, so let's see if this OBJ file has textures in it. We're going to go to materials here. I don't see any materials in this one. Now, this happens sometimes basically because it's an OBJ file. It may not include any textures. So let's just go back here and see if we can find it, because I want to see if there were any additional downloads with this. So the only thing that we had was OBJ, GLTF, and USDZ. And textures 0. Okay, so basically this happens sometimes. Sometimes people will release stuff and they'll say that you can download it, but in the end, they don't give you the textures. In my opinion, that's actually kind of false advertising. I don't think it's great to show a picture of something with textures on it and then not include the textures in the download. There's still actually some bone textures that you can get on the Unity Asset Store, so we might be able to salvage this situation. So let's start by just going extract materials and just see what happens here. It's got apparently like 10 materials or something with it. I'm not really sure why, but sometimes when Unity is working with formats other than FBX, it takes a long time for it to do anything. I noticed like if you import like a blend file directly, it'll do that as well sometimes. Okay, so we have now extracted the textures and or the materials, and yeah, it's still just completely blank. So what I want to do here is, first of all, I don't want it to be gray. I'm going to set every color here to white. And then what I want to do is I actually want to just pull this into the scene and just take a look at it. So that's actually not too terrible. Let's set this to center instead of pivot because this thing is not centered in its file. And let's take a look. So it's white, but first of all, it's not reflecting light. So I think what we'd want to do here is maybe improve the smoothness a little bit. There we go, that's not bad. Okay, and then what else can we do? Let's click the button here, and I swear that I downloaded somewhere some bone textures. Yeah, here we go. There's a texture called Seamless Bone, which actually came from a Medieval Props asset pack from the Asset Store, I think. And we can apply that to all of these, and now it actually does kind of have a bone texture. So this isn't bad, you know, we kind of salvaged this. I'm actually really liking this bone button. It's not as yellow and ugly as this one right here. And in fact, what I could do is I could probably go through and, like, if I wanted to make, I bet you I could just select like any random like 3 of these right here, and I could change the color a little bit, maybe over to like yellow side of the spectrum. And there you go. You can start to see like the discoloration show up basically. So I think maybe that was actually part of it, is this maybe like with this set, for example, there actually wasn't any textures and these were just colors, but very cool anyway. I'm going to keep the bone button. I like it. We've kind of managed to salvage this. So we'll go into downloads. We'll take the bone button. We will move it over to our props here. And then we'll just organize it externally. I like to do this in case like I ever lose my project or something. I like to have my assets just in an external folder somewhere in case I have to re-import them. So we'll pop that into our props folder, put our bone button in there, and move on to the next one. So next up is bone needle, and let me just do some extraction on my bone needle here. Okay, so we're just going to pull the bone needle folder in and see what we get here. See, this was interesting because this was also an OBJ file, but it just imported pretty quickly. Okay, let's go back up to our Tailor's Guild. We'll just hit F to focus on the building. Head back inside here. All right, and now we want to grab the bone needle and pull that into the scene. And this thing is pretty humongous. I think we want it to be a little bit smaller, but what's really cool about this one is that basically all its materials and stuff are already applied. So we actually don't really need to do a whole lot of cleanup on this. Let's just go to the model here. If I uncheck this, I don't know if this is going to get smaller or bigger. It didn't get anything. Okay. So maybe we just need to do scale factor 0.1. Okay, and hit F. There we go. That looks a little better. So now let's go back into our Tailor's Guild here. And maybe I'm just going to stick this stuff on the table. So let's get rid of this plant here, and the apple, and the book, and then we will grab our bone needle, middle click on the table, and hit Control Alt F, and there we go. Yeah, that's not bad. It's pretty big, but I think I can work with that. Okay, so bone needle is good. That's good news. I might shrink this down a little bit, like make it down to like 0.025 or something to make it like a couple of versions of this. But for now, that's pretty good. So we're just going to take this and drag this into our props folder. And what I'm going to do is to collapse these, I can hold down the Alt key, and then this way when I open it, it's all nicely collapsed. And then we're just going to drag bone needle over here into our props folder, so we know that this one was cleaned up and it worked for us. Let's see, next up we have button clothes, and I don't know if this is going to import or not. This is an STL, so we'll try it. If it doesn't, we'll see if we can maybe clean this up a little bit. Okay, so this didn't import. Let me try opening it with Paint 3D. Doesn't work in Paint 3D either. Okay, and maybe our friend Google will tell us something about that. And I think I might just move on. You can convert it into an OBJ using this. Okay, sure, why not? So add file, STL, start uploading, sure. Cannot connect to MySQL server. Maybe I have to allow all scripts on this page first, or potentially this site isn't working. Let's just turn off ads on it as well. Sometimes ad blockers block functionality, so we'll try this again. Add the file, start uploading. Okay, so this thing isn't working. I think potentially what we can do is open this thing up in like Blender or something like that, but I think I'll do that later. So sometimes, you know, this is the thing about importing random stuff, is sometimes you'll find something and it's just like not usable really right away. So we'll just move on to the next one basically, which is our cutesy styled wizard theme props apparently. And this is an FBX, so we know that this is going to import directly into Unity. For now, I'm just going to take the button close. And actually, you know what? The button close was one, it wasn't even really that great. It was, let's just see if we can take a look at it. I think actually, honestly, I'm not even going to bother using it. Let's, it was this. This doesn't look very medieval, and we got that bone button to work, so I think I'm just not going to use this one at all. It was a little bit too simple anyway. So next up, we have cutesy styled wizard theme props. And actually, I don't really remember what was in this set. This actually might have been something from an earlier... okay, we're going to click Fix Now, so it fixes one of the normal maps. Might have been something from an earlier download I was doing. Let's just take a look at that. Oh yeah, this is... okay, so this is another case where you have textures not being applied properly. This was like, I was looking for like some potions or something like that. So let's just see, we got a bunch of textures here. That's a lot of textures, and sometimes you have to fix these things manually. If we get lucky though, no, we've got to extract the materials. We'll hit select folder and look at that again. Still doesn't have them applied. So in this case, we've got alchemy table, cauldron, and crystal ball, and we have all of these ones right here. So this is actually a perfect example to demonstrate. This is actually how most packages come. So what I'm going to do just to make things easier is I'm going to move these all into this folder, and we'll go to the alchemy table, and we've got base color, we'll go in albedo. We have metallic, we'll go in metallic. We got normal map over here in normal. We'll click Fix Now. Those usually have to be done, and then roughness, I think that goes on the height map. And that looks good. Now we've got cauldron, so we'll do the, you know what, cauldron already has them all applied, which is awesome. And then we have crystal ball here, so we'll put on base color, metallic, normal map, and roughness on the height map there. And then if we go back and click on this, there it is, beauty. We've got lots of different potions and stuff now. And if I pull this into the scene here, this is really cool because basically if I hit F and look at these potions, I can actually pull these potions out like individually. So I'm going to use this. I've got some content coming up that's going to be like more sort of cartoon styled. This is a little bit too cartoony for the Sun Temple. The Sun Temple's like quasi-realistic, but we're still going to keep this around because you know that they're great looking. It's a pretty cute little set there. Cutesy styled wizard theme props. I don't think I pulled that up, so let's just see if I can find the link for that here. Cutesy, there, cutesy styled wizard theme props right here. I'll put a link for that in the description as well. Yeah, that's not bad. This is pretty much what it looks like. I think I might have to adjust the shininess on it. You can see actually this is a little bit reflective in here, and the wood and jars look a little bit better. So let's just go over and look at that crystal ball here. I think what I want to do is let's actually pull that into the Tailor's Guild, because I just want to check the size on that. It might be the wrong size. You know what, we'll just put it like right here. Okay, so if I middle click on the ground and then go Control Alt F, whoops, no, Control Z. I moved the wrong building. Let's try this again. Select the wizard theme props and then hit Control Alt F, but that went to the wrong spot. So we're going to try this again. Middle click on the ground, Control Alt F, there we go. Wizard theme props are now there, and they're too small. So what we want to do is we want to take this, go to Model, let's hit Apply. Okay, that's a little big. In this case, I think what we need to do is 0.25. This is a pretty common thing where something will be about 4 times as large as normal. Perfect. So now this is nice. Oh, you know what? Actually, that globe is looking pretty good. We can make it a tiny bit shinier. So we'll go to the crystal ball here. And now this is interesting. Usually on metallic or specular, you actually have a slider that allows you. Oh, no wonder, it's got an Autodesk interactive shader, that's why. This is why we don't have the specular setup. So if we go to standard here, there we go, that's better. Now we actually get a slider for smoothness, and we can adjust this and make it exactly as reflective as we want. Perfect. So what I'd probably do is I'll probably go to, like, let's say the alchemy table here, and I'll just turn that down to the standard shader as well, and then just adjust that to about maybe there. And now it looks a lot more like it does in the photo. Okay, awesome. And you know what? Why don't we do that with the cauldron as well? Because I think the cauldron should look a little bit more metallic. So we'll just change that to the standard shader 2, and then just turn down metallic to about there. There we go. Now that's looking really nice. Beauty. That pretty much looks almost like it does in here. I could probably actually turn down the metallic a little bit more on these two things because they do look sort of non-metallic there. But that's like kind of more personal preference than anything, I think. Okay, so we will save that. Cutesy styled wizard themed props can go in props because we don't actually need that right now. And then we'll move that over into our folder here to let us know that this has been selected and it looks good. Or I mean, verified as working. So we've got actually this other thing right here. This is kind of an interesting one. A Grange avec Moche Terre Anime in 3D, apparently. Let's see if I can find that. Yeah, this one looked kind of interesting. This is really neat because it actually includes an animation. So I wanted to check this out because I was thinking it would be really cool to have like a grinding mill basically somewhere. And if you look at this animation, we can set it here to take 001, and these horses are actually like pulling this mill around. So I thought this would be pretty awesome if I could get something like this working in our game. So let's just pause that and then head back into Unity, and it's been imported now, and we've Got that. And it looks like we have the same issue with the textures here. Why don't we just drop that into our scene there. Okay, so you can see the textures need to be fixed up a little bit. So we'll go here. We're going to click on materials. We're going to go extract materials and select folder. Now this one's got a lot of materials here. And that still didn't fix them. So what we'll want to do here is just pull all these into the source folder. And I want to just check the animations because these guys were supposed to have an animation. So let's go into the animation, and there it is, take 001, nice. When I hit play, nothing happens, and that's because I believe because there's no animator component on this thing. So let's just fix up the textures first. In this case, we're gonna want to grab all of the materials, and I'm not really sure why, but they come in with weird colors. Like this really shouldn't be purple. Now, I think this is a little bit personal preference as well, but I just like to make everything white because otherwise the textures are generally going to be like really discolored. So there we go, base and metallic, and this is nice. We can see it's using the standard shader. Mixed AO is occlusion, put in the normal map, and the rough map goes in heightness, or height map goes in roughness. We'll just click fix on that. And then the obtuse, and the metallic, and the normal, and the roughness onto the height map, and we'll fix that. And then apparently we've got some glass here. Okay, glass is opacity, so I think we want to set this to transparent, and I think we want the specular setup for transparent. It depends on some of these, it really depends. So I'll have to play with this likely. Okay, now in this case, this is pretty easy for the UVs, right? Because we can see we got the base colors, but some of these over here have weird names, so we're going to have to maybe just play around with those a bit as well. So we'll put the occlusion one in there, put some normals up here, do the roughness right there, and then same thing for UV2. Base color, metallic, normals, and roughness into height. And then UV1, base color, metallic, normals, and then roughness into height. And this isn't bad. Marcheterre diffuse, sure. And prop kit 2, we got base colors and some normals. We'll fix that. Okay, so we have ref default and ref 5, and this appears to be the horses. And here we have horse brown. So I'm going to assume that the refs are the horses because they're basically the only one where the names don't match. So we'll pull that. Okay. Ref 15 is the horse's mane and tail, apparently. I don't know which one of these is supposed to go where, so let's see. If we pull the brown onto there, that's okay. Pull the metallic onto there, it's okay. And this I think is the horse normals. That looks right. So I think ref 15, we've got this as transparent. It might look okay. I don't know why I can see this white stuff right here, but it might look okay when we actually start the game. Same with the hairs there. Yeah, who knows? And this little thing right here, this looks to be part of the harness, which is using prop kit 2. So I think prop kit 2 needs its smoothness or metallic set up a little bit. Maybe more like that. Okay, this is actually looking pretty good. I'm actually really happy with this. So then, now in order to animate this, I'm not sure specifically what we need to do. Let's just check this real quick here. So on our rig we have generic with no avatar, and we've got this animation here. Now the question is, how do we apply this, right? Let's just check our horses and see if our horses have animators on them. It doesn't, oh, you know what? Okay. This is a bone structure, which is really interesting. I think what I'm going to do, just because it's in the interest of time on this episode, I'll figure out how to animate this thing at some other point. But for now, I think I kind of like it. If I just need like a static horse or something in my game, I can pull these horses in and they'll look really, really nice. And I can actually just pull the horse out of this FBX because this FBX has everything separated in a nice hierarchy, which is really cool. So we're just going to take this and we're going to pull that into our props folder and maybe figure out the animation part later. So let's see the next thing that we're going to import here. We'll pull this over to here, and it looks like our lich is coming up next. Awesome. So this is another character, and let's see what we got here. Under our model, perfect, we've got a lich. In the meantime, I'm just going to take my Grange out of the scene here, and let's just pull our lich in there. And our lich is a little tiny, so what we'll want to do is go to the model, maybe just tell it not to convert. Ooh, now he's pretty huge. Okay, maybe we will convert, and we'll just set his scale to 10 and hit apply and see what happens. There we go, that's pretty good. Okay, perfect. So we're going to take our lich, and now the rig is generic. That's cool because it's not legacy. Oh, okay, this is an issue. Our lich has no animations. And floating characters in general, you kind of want them to have their own animations. Let's just go find that lich and just see what it says about this. I see. Animation 0. I may end up just tossing this guy. Yeah, okay. He doesn't have even enough bones. Okay, Yeah, this is unfortunate. We're not going to be able to use him basically. He's a generic model with no rig and no animations. And you can actually see here, there's like no bone structure. Typically, if we pull one of these guys into the scene, we'll expect to see a bone structure, and there's nothing underneath that. And not only, oh, you know what? This is neat. He actually has an animator attached, but there's no like animations. Kind of weird. Okay, too bad. We are not going to be able to use him because of that. So we'll delete our lich and delete him from our project. And then we'll just clean him up here and delete him from our downloads folder because we can't use him. And this is part of the whole cleanup process. Is, you know, they're free stuff. Sometimes they're usable, sometimes they're not, and that's just what going and doing all these imports is about, is just figuring out which ones can be used and which ones can't. So let's see in the source here. I think potentially, no, this is the correct source. Okay, good. So the materials is an MTL, but we do have a texture.jpg here. So what I'm going to do is, let's just middle click on this table here and just throw that model on top of it. And it looks like we may need to make that a little bigger. I'm going to middle click there and Control Alt F. It's still super tiny. What happens if I hit focus? Oh, you know what? No, it's super big. It's like half the size of the level. That's what happened. Okay, let's try this again. Let's hit convert and hit apply and just see, does it shrink? No, it didn't. Okay. So basically the scale appears to be maybe the same. So we're going to hit 0.1 and hit apply. There, that's a little better. Let's see. It's still way too big. So we're going to middle click again and hit Control Alt F. And okay, good. That's a little better. Now we can at least see it. So this needs to be 0.01. Now let's middle click and hit Control Alt F again. And that's still pretty huge. So in this case, actually this is going to be 0.025 because this is one of those models that's 4 times as big as it should be. Perfect. And this is about the right size for the sewing needle. So middle click, Control Alt F, it'll pop down there if I actually have it selected. Perfect. So now we got another nice needle. So I'm pretty happy with this. We can just take this, move this into our props folder because it's good to go. And then we will organize this as well. We'll take our needle, just move it into the good props folder. And next we have a Romano-British bone needle, which I just need to extract in 7-zip here, and then I will import it into my project. So Romano-British bone needle. And we'll just pull that into our project right here. And it looks pretty tiny. I'm going to middle click on this, Control Alt F to move it up a little bit. And it didn't come with the textures applied to it. So we're going to go to the Materials tab here. And sorry about that, lost the mic. 1 second. Okay, let's see, audio is good and we're back. Okay, so we're going to take the needle here and we're going to take the materials. We are going to extract the materials, hit select folder, and now we just have one default matte. We're going to change the color to white and we're going to pull in the albedo and actually I think that's really all we need to do. The other file in this folder is an MTL. That's this one right there, which Unity isn't going to use. So basically, we can just make this a little more metallic, up the smoothness a little bit, and it looks pretty good. So I'll take this Romano-British bone needle, move it down into the props folder, and then we will take that and pull it right there. And next up we have the sewing box. So let's just check and make sure that that's going to import. So this is a Blender file. This might take a little longer to import. Unity usually takes a little while to import Blender files. I'm not really sure why. Some Blender files import really quickly and some Blender files take a bit. Looks like this one's not bad. It came in pretty quickly here. So, oh wow, look at this. This one looks like, let's just pull it in. It's a little small, middle click, Control Alt F. It's a little big. I think we're inside of it right now. That's what's happening there. Let's go to the model here. Wow, 1 meter file to 100 meters Unity. How about no? We don't want to make this 100 meters wide. So we're going to hit apply and Unity's going to re-import it. I think I actually have to delete that and pull it back into the scene. Okay, still the wrong scale. So we'll go 0.1 and apply that. Okay, that's a lot better. It's still a little huge, so I think in this case we're going to have to do 0.025 and apply that. I mean, unless it's supposed to be the size of like half a floor, but I kind of imagine that this is more of a little chest. There we go. You know what? That's looking about right. Let's just take this and pull it up into one of the rooms here. We'll pull it up, maybe put it right there in the corner beside our other thing. So I can hit Control Alt F, and you know what? I want to do pivot and Control Alt F. There we go. See, when you go pivot, sometimes things will be nice and they'll actually pop like directly on the floor, and other times, like with this, they appear like halfway through it. I think it just has to do with how the file is. But this is a beautiful little box, and I honestly don't see anything else that needs to be done to it. This is such an amazing asset. I am in love with it already. So we're going to take our sewing box here and we're going to pull it into our props folder because we know it's good. And apparently pulling it into the props folder is a difficult activity. Okay. Good, there we go. Let's just hit Alt, close, and oh, no. Oh, wow, Alt open works too. Neat. Okay. So we're going to take the sewing box and now we're going to move it into our verified props folder. And next up we have a sewing mannequin. So we'll pull that in here. Oh, and you know what? I believe this one, that's a PLY file. Okay, so what we need to do with this is you'll see that Unity did not import this file properly because it's a PLY file. So what we're going to do is click on the PLY file, and let's just try opening this one in Paint 3D. We might get lucky. Yay, hooray for Paint 3D. Awesome. You know, it's really sad that the Microsoft Paint programs are some of the worst programs for actually making stuff with. But why does Microsoft Paint allow me to import and export FBXs and GLBs and all these other file formats that Unity can't work with? I feel like it would take a developer like 5 minutes to connect the import-export functionality from Paint 3D into Unity to allow Unity to natively import these things. It just seems like a tremendous miss for them that the worst Paint program on the planet can do it, and they can't. All right, end rant, and let's see. You know what? Did I export this to the wrong folder? No, I exported it to this one. Okay. Or I didn't. Sorry, did I miss that? Something happened there. Let's try this again. We're going to edit this mannequin with Paint 3D. We're going to go to the menu. We're going to try to export it, and we're going to see where it went. Oh, no wonder it went 3D objects. Yeah, okay. What we want is we want to actually put this in the folder that we downloaded this into. When you open the program, apparently it doesn't remember the last place that you saved it. So we want Unity, assets, other sources. No, we want downloads, sewing mannequin, source. This is where we imported this. Okay. Put this FBX file right there, save it. Perfect. And now we should have it in the right folder. There we go. And now we can import it into our game here. So we'll pull that up here. And now we have, hopefully, in a second, an FBX file which we can actually work with. Awesome. So we got a mannequin. This mannequin doesn't appear to have any textures associated with it. Let's just drag it into the scene here. This mannequin is really small. Let's hit apply, uncheck the convert units. There we go, that's a lot better. So now our mannequin is about the right size, but it's just kind of gray and it's got no materials on it. It's not looking very fantastic here. So what can we do about this? I apologize. Apparently we are not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, but everything looks okay on my side here. So does this mannequin come with materials? It's got one material. It does not appear to have textures associated with it. And when I look at the original folder, it was just the PLY file. Now, if we go back, let's try to find our sewing mannequin right here. Now this one has textures on it. But they didn't include the textures. I'm just going to hit download on this GLTF because I want to see if there's maybe like a JPEG file hidden inside of that GLTF. So let's go sewing mannequin.zip. We'll just extract it directly here. And yeah, no textures. Okay. I wonder, I think Paint 3D can, no, apparently Paint 3D cannot open GLTF. Oh, look at this. 3D Viewer can though, and this one actually has the texture. Now, here's a real interesting question. Actually, if I open up the PLY, okay, no textures in that. So 3D Viewer is not showing textures. All right. But Okay, so what can we do about this? The question is, can I somehow extract the textures from the GLTF file and somehow get them into Unity? Oh no, Paint 3D can't import it. Unfortunately, we can't save it as anything else. And it only supports image exports. Okay, this one I may have to come back to. Let's just do a real quick check here. Extract texture from GLTF. So this might be one of those ones where I have to go actually do some like Blender cleanup. So I think we're gonna skip the sewing mannequin for now. I have to do a little bit more research, and you know, this is what happens sometimes. You get stuff where you can't just use it out of the box. Actually, you know what? Let me just check something here. So we got this material. Let's actually just extract that real quick here out of the PLY, because we've got lots of different material textures already in the project, and we could just apply like some cheap material texture to this basically. Let's make this white, and we'll click on albedo, and I actually have like some bunch of cloth textures in here somewhere. Maybe I'll just search for material. Got like some rope and stuff somewhere. Oh, you know what? I think it is called fabric. There we go. Fabric is what I'm looking for. I got a bunch of fabric from some set on the asset store. It looks actually like the Mega Fantasy Props Pack. Perfect. This one looks good. You know what? I kind of like that. It's a little bit dark, but you know, it's salvageable. Maybe we'll try something else here. Let's try a lighter fabric. I wonder if we have even lighter fabric. This one's still pretty dark. Fabric bag. You know what's really cool about this? Actually, fabric bag 1 has normals. Let's do this. Let's do the 1. And then for the normals, we'll do fabric bag 1 normal. And that's actually looking pretty good. I'm actually kind of happy with that. You know what? Well, I think we're going to keep this. We'll just keep that mannequin around. You know what else we could do? Actually, I'm thinking even better than fabric. This is like ancient times, right? Kind of medieval-ish. So what if we took away the normals? Because this thing's already basically got like sort of a texture associated with it anyway. And what if for the albedo, we just looked for like a wood texture? Because we've got lots of wood textures in here already. So we'd want to find like this one, this redwood. Yeah, it's not great. Okay. Well, I think what I'll do then is I am going to look up later. For now, I think maybe we'll just not use the mannequin. So some of these things, you know, they don't lend themselves very well to being imported. So next up we have Simple Button. Let's go see what Simple Button is like. We got Simple Button, we got source, and Simple Button is a RAR file which I need to extract first. So let's try that with a RAR file extracted, and then we'll actually get something usable here, hopefully. We're going to delete Simple Button there. And now we've got a button. Okay, this is awesome. And this is actually a nice button. I kind of like it. Let's put this button on top of our sewing table. This button's too big. It's going to go over the sewing table. So we'll want to go to the model, 1 centimeter file to 1 meter unity. We're just going to uncheck convert units. And then we should have a button that we can pull in, and it's still too big. I don't know what's going on here. I told it to not convert, and it's like it's still converting. So hit scale factor 0.1, take our button, middle click, Control Alt F. Wow, that's still pretty big. I think this one needs to be more like 0.025. Let's just apply that. Perfect. Okay, so it's a big button. This button is a little bit too pink. So what I want to do is I'm going to extract the material, and I'm going to change that to white, and it looks like actually it's got the wrong textures in there. So this was the normal, this was the roughness and occlusion. There, that's a little better. Now let's just turn up the smoothness to make it a little bit more like reflective. And there we go, that's a nice button. So I'm pretty happy with our simple button. We're just going to drag that into our props folder. And then we're going to organize our simple button. So I will drag simple button down over here and drop it in. Okay, next up we have a Singer 15-year-old sewing machine. So move that into our downloads folder here. Or not 15-year-old, this is way more than 15 years old. Singer 15 old sewing machine. Okay, so we're going to open that up. We got a source, we have a file called string. Let's drag string into our scene, and this is perfect. It's actually the right size, which is amazing. That doesn't usually happen, but we got some issues with the textures not being set properly. So it looks like we will have to extract our materials here and fix this thing up manually. It's too bad. It's a little bit of a process. So I'm just going to take all these textures here and I'm going to pull them over into the source folder, and then I want to change the color on all these materials to white. And then we'll just go through and add them. So base, metallic, normal, and roughness. Base, metallic, normal, and roughness. Base, metallic, normal, and roughness. And then I don't know what that is because we don't have any associated textures with the names that match. So we'll just keep on going, and we'll see at the end of this if we have like a gray patch or a white patch that doesn't look like it's had a texture applied to it. So in some cases, you know, it takes a little while to import this stuff and to properly clean it up. But in the end, if you can't find good parts on the Unity asset store, it can really be worth the effort, because the fact that I've got like these awesome sort of Victorian era sewing machines here is just going to add like a really nice touch to the Tailor's Guild here. Because I like to have, you know, props that are really effectively matching whatever is in the scene there. I think it would be cool. I'm going to have like a bunch of tables, and we'll have like a bunch of like stuff being made. Like we'll show like pillows and material for making the pillows in various states, just like in the same way that we had the wood like being loaded into the crates and stuff over in the Woodworkers Guild. So we'll apply the normals, hit fix, and go to the roughness here. Okay, this is really good. I'm pretty happy with this. Now, what I'm going to need to do is probably adjust the metallic on it, because some of these things look a little bit too metallic. In a lot of cases, like 0.2 is sort of a pretty good level, and then just working your way up from there, depending, like this is metal, so you know you want it higher, like 0.6. This is way too dark, whatever it is. I think this is like the base that I'm playing with right now. And then, let's see, I don't even know where the needle is. There, that looks like about right for the needle. There we go, that's better. So this is sort of the main body, and now that doesn't look over shiny. And then it's the lever. Pull down the circle, whatever that is. And then the add-ons. Perfect. Okay, good. So that's a nice looking sewing machine. So I'm pretty happy with the old Singer. So we're just going to pull that into the props folder there. And we will organize that. And then we have next up Space Kitty. Let's see if Space Kitty has yarn that we can actually pull out of the model, because then I can have like some yarn balls. And I'm going to need to actually just extract this, because basically if you look at the folder, just go 7-zip extract here, because Unity will not extract that zip file for us directly. So then I can grab all this stuff, just pull it up. Whoops, you know what? I put it in the wrong folder. That's fine. We can just move that. We'll go into Space Kitty and move all this stuff into source where it's supposed to be. Okay, and let's delete that. Okay, and now we have Space Kitty. Perfect. Now if we open up Space Kitty, excellent. It has a couple of spheres, so very likely this is going to work for us. What we want to do is, the first thing is extract the materials so that we can apply the textures to them. And oh, you know what? That worked. Kind of. That one had the right, they all have the right oh, these aren't textures. These are like opacity or metallic. Okay, so let's pull the actual textures into the source here. And this is a case where, unfortunately, the names of these things don't match very well. So if we pull Space Kitty into the level here, and let's just see, there we go. Now he's about the right size. Now he is super humongous. So what we'd have to do is take a look at the materials and then try to figure out what goes with what. So let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have groups 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's see, let's try maybe group 1. We'll throw in the albedo. I don't know if Space Kitty is supposed to be green. You know what? These are yarn colors. That's what this is. Okay, so we know actually that this is for the yarns. So sphere 006. Sometimes the easiest way to do this is just adjust the color until you see something. This must be one of the balls in his hand, maybe? This is really interesting that changing the color on this is not changing the color of any of those balls. Okay, there we go. We found one. So let's see. Sphere 005 is the ball underneath Space Kitty. So let's just go take a look at Space Kitty. And that's supposed to be purple. So what we can do is we can pull that into the albedo slot. It's 2. We'll change the color to white. That looks good. And then okay, that's not bad. I think these balls all share the same occlusion. Perfect. And they all share the same normals. That's pretty good. Okay. So then I honestly have like no idea what this one is. Complete RPF converted. Not a clue. I don't know if this is supposed to be a D. Let's see what happens when we put in metallic. Wow. That's kind of neat. Maybe it's the metallic. Let's see what happens if we put it in detail. Nothing. Yeah, okay. So now we have sphere 4. Which one is sphere 4? To figure that out, we will mess with the color. Okay, it's the tinier ball. So we go over to Space Kitty and the tinier ball is the green ball. So if we look at sphere 4, then we'll want to pull that. We'll want to pull this into the metallic. We'll want to change that to white, and then we will want to apply the yarn ball occlusion and the yarn ball normal. And drag that down till it looks a little better. And I'm pretty happy with that. Oh, you know what? There's the other sphere on the bottom there. It was so low that I couldn't even see it. See if we move this guy up. There's this final little sphere, and I bet you that this is sphere 6. So let's just try adjusting the color. Yeah, sphere 6. Perfect. Okay, so on Space Kitty, sphere 6 is brown. So I'm assuming brown is maybe yellowish. Let's pull that into the albedo. We'll pull this into the metallic, then put some occlusion on it, and then change the normals. Pull that down a little bit. This looks far more gold than brown. There, I think that's a little better. Okay. I don't know what Untitled 1 is because it's literally a single transparent pixel. And this is really interesting because we actually have object 14, but there isn't an object 14. Okay, well, let's keep going up. So the biggest ball underneath Space Kitty, oh, that's the yellow one. You know what? I think this is actually supposed to be like red. The ball underneath Space Kitty is the gold one. So I'm willing to bet that that's actually supposed to be this one. Nope. What is this? Sphere 003. Oh, it's the one in his hand. Okay, the one in his hand is by far the darkest red. So actually that's good. We found our dark red. So then we will apply the metallic as well as the occlusion and the shared normal. Pull that down a little bit to about there. Now we have a nice red ball of yarn. Good. Okay, and then finally, I bet you that sphere 002, I'm actually just going to swap the color on this because we've already got the gold one down there. It doesn't really matter, honestly, what color these things are, because I can just swap the colors because they have shared normals, and we can make any size ball of any color that we want realistically. So we will pull down the metallic level on this, and that looks pretty good. We have a bunch of different colored balls of yarn, and they all look pretty awesome, in my opinion. So then the last thing is actually Space Kitty. Now, I bet that maybe Space Kitty is actually object 14 or not. You know what? It doesn't really matter because the only thing that I really wanted out of this was the balls of yarn. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to pull bot back into the folder, make an original prefab out of it, and then we are going to unpack this prefab and delete Space Kitty, delete Space Kitty's helmet, delete whatever this thing is, and now we have balls of yarn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 balls of yarn. Excellent. So then we'll just pull this into here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this even better. I'm going to make individual prefabs. Cancel. No. Okay. We are going to unpack this prefab. Then we're going to pull sphere 1, sphere 2, sphere 3, sphere 4, sphere 5, sphere 6. Okay, awesome. And now we have all of the spheres as their own prefabs. So then what I want to do here is I'm going to make a new folder here called Space Kitty Yarn. And I'm going to create a folder called Import, where I have the raw import, and then I'm going to create another folder called Prefab, and this is just a way that I like to break stuff up if I have to do a lot of changes to them. So we'll pull Space Kitty over into the import folder, and then we'll go in here and we will grab the spheres that we made, and we'll pull those over into our prefab folder, and then we'll just actually delete these bot prefabs here. Okay, awesome. And now if I go in my prefab folder, I have multicolored yarn balls that I can use. And this is great. I can adjust the size on them later to make them more consistent, but I'm basically just going to place these yarn balls like on the sewing tables and use them as props. So perfect. Space Kitty, that was a really good find, because sometimes, you know, you can just tear an FBX apart and just use the components of it, and I absolutely love it when I find like large assets like that where I can just pick individual pieces out of them because they're not a single mesh. So we'll take Space Kitty and we will move Space Kitty into our props. So grab Space Kitty, move him into our props over here. And next we have Spinning Wheel. So let's just see, I've got a spinning wheel, it's got a zip. I'm just going to 7-zip extract here. Then I'm going to remove the zip. This is great. This is an FBX. So we're going to take spinning wheel renders and pull it into our downloads folder where we test everything out before organizing it. And then just let Unity import the stuff. And here we have spinning wheel. Awesome. So I'm just going to get rid of the bot here to get rid of all our just test stuff. We'll go down to the ground here and we'll drag the spinning wheel onto it. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. This spinning wheel, it's already got the wood texture applied to it, I think, and it looks like I just have to fix a couple of different things with it. If I had to guess, I'd say some of the materials aren't correct. So what we'll do is we will extract the materials as usual. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, perfect. So we're going to put the diff right there. We're going to put the gloss in the metallic. We will add the normals and fix that. And oh, you know what? This is specular. Okay, so what I want to do here actually is I want to go down to the standard specular setup because this has a specular on it. Beauty. And then normal's fine. Gloss. I don't know what to do with the gloss. I think that goes in occlusion. It's not always obvious because sometimes the Unity's names for these don't map to the actual textures that you got in the project. So I'm going to pull that metallic smoothness down a little bit. Okay, so let's actually go back because to me this is actually looking a little bit different than this. Oh, you know what? This is entirely the same. I thought looking at this that we actually had multiple different textures, and I thought some of them were like metal, but no, this entire thing is actually made out of the same wood texture. So we want it to look more like it does in this photo here. So maybe we need to make it more shiny. What happens when we put gloss on detail? Nothing happens. Let's go back and look at that. You know what? This is actually pretty close. I think, honestly, I'm pretty happy with that. That's... What happens if we go albedo alpha? I don't know if that makes a difference. Yeah, actually, you know what? I think that's a little better. Okay. Spinning wheel's good. I love it. So we're going to take spinning wheel, pull it into the props folder here. And actually, let's go throw this spinning wheel upstairs because it's like perfect. We'll put it over here beside the sewing machine. So middle click on the ground, make sure pivot is selected, Control Alt F, and pull that back a little bit and down some, move it over there. Awesome, 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 awesome. We got like medieval times and Victorian times, lots of choices here. Sun Temple, you know, the game takes place in sort of medieval area, but Sun Temple's kind of Victorian almost, maybe like Renaissance. But that's okay, you know, because we can have different levels of technological development throughout our world. It's a free game with free assets. Beggars cannot be choosers all the time. So we'll take spinning wheel renders, we will move it into our approved assets folder, and let's see, we got a couple more sewing machines and some thimbles left, it looks like. So let's grab a thimble. I've got a source folders here. I'm just going to have to extract this zip because Unity won't import a zip. Oh, well, it'll import it, it'll just show it as a file and do nothing with it. And it looks like this is an OBJ. And let's see what our thimble is looking like here. So we've got a thimble. There's another file in here that's a texture.jpg, okay. Let's go stick our thimble on our sewing machine. So just pull this right here, and our thimble is huge. So we'll go to the model. I am going to uncheck convert units. It's still too big. I don't know, this is like, this might be a bug because when I check this, it's not changing the size, and it really should be. Okay, so we'll take our thimble, which is still too big. Let's just drag. Unity, what is going on here? Maybe 0.01? Okay, that's a little better. Still too big, so maybe 0.001. Middle click, Control Alt F. Move it up a little. Okay, you know what? That's not bad. It's actually a little big, so what I would do probably is maybe even make that a little smaller, so maybe like 0.0025. Wow. Okay, perfect. There we go. Now that is a beautiful thimble, and we can basically just take this thing and rotate it 90 degrees around its x. No, whoops, x. 90. Negative 90. Perfect. Now we have a thimble. We can middle click, Control Alt F. We can put it on the table. Awesome. Good. I love it. So thimble looks good. As far as the thing goes, the textures actually look okay. They look like they've been successfully applied to it, which is great because it means I don't have to bother extracting it or anything like that. So we'll take our thimble and we'll move it over to props. Thimble is verified. Then we will take the thimble folder and move it into our verified props on disk here. And next up we have Vintage Sewing Machine, Christoph Columbus. So let's find a good spot for that and just see, I've got an export here, so we're going to have to extract that, get the zip file extracted, and then we can pull the whole folder into Unity here. Alright, and then let's see, we're going to pull in export low poly, and I'm going to figure out, is this too big or too small? I think it's too small. Let's hit F to focus. Oh, no. Actually, it looks the right size, but we've got it placed at pivot, and we actually want it placed at center in that case. Also, we're going to need to do something about the materials, so I will hit extract. And we'll change the color to white. And we will put in, this is the specular setup, so we'll want to go standard specular setup. Pull in the specular, pull in the diffuse, pull in the normals, fix that. Okay, now let's go hit F to focus on our spinning wheel. We're going to hit center right here. We're going to middle click on the ground. We're going to grab our whichever one we just pulled in, export low poly, this guy right here. Middle click, Control Alt F, there we go, that's better. Okay, now we want to rotate him, so we'll hold down Control, rotate him 90 degrees so it's standing up, and pull it up through the floor. And that's pretty good. Now I think we maybe want to turn down the specular a little bit to maybe, I don't know, about there I think. Maybe a little less. It's a little shiny. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, awesome. So now we've got 2 sewing machines and this awesome spinning wheel and this giant thread, some buttons and stuff. This is very much going to start to look like a sewer or a tailor's guild here pretty soon. So I'm happy with the sewing machine. We'll pull that over into the props folder. And then let's go through, pull that into our verified props folder. And what do we have next? We've got a Willowsby sewing machine. And this is in a RAR file, which luckily 7-zip will extract for us. So just extract here. And I can get rid of the original RAR, and then we will pull the entire folder into Unity here. Willowsby sewing machine. And just let this stuff import. Wow, this sewing machine has 4K textures. This is incredible. Let's just drag this into the scene right here. Not bad. This one's a little big. I think I'll want to move this one down to not 0.25 because that would make it too miniature. I think I just want it at like 0.5, which is really interesting. I don't normally see things where you have to scale them to exactly 0.5. It's usually like 0.25 or a multiple of 10, but that looks good. That looks really good actually. So now what we want to do is fix the materials. So we're just going to extract the materials. And then add everything. Now this uses AO and metallic. Okay, so that's good. We'll keep it on metallic. So we want, oh interesting, the sewing machine table is 2K and the sewing machine itself is 4K. Wow. We'll set this to white. We got albedo there. We'll take the AO, stick that in the occlusion. We'll stick the height on the height map. And this is beautiful because these names match exactly what Unity is expecting. And I think for roughness, that'll be like detail. So this is looking a little bit funny. This is the Willowsby sewing machine, and I feel like these textures are applied wrong. Oh, you know what? Look, I applied them to the wrong thing. That's why. This is table. Sewing machine is Willowsby sewing machine. These textures are very unfortunately named. Okay, let's try this again. AO, base color, height map, metallic, normal map, roughness is going to be detail, and honestly, we don't have opacity because we don't have a slot for it. But that's fine. I think it's looking okay. We might want to let's see, I'm going to pull down the occlusion a bit and then pull down the metallic. That's looking pretty beautiful. Wow, what a beautiful sewing machine that is. Okay, now we want to do the table. So table gets base color, make that white so we can see it properly. Occlusion, height map, metallic, normal map, roughness, and then is that right? Let's go take a look at the Willowsby sewing machine here, because I feel like that table looks a little bit funny. Yeah, that's not right. The table is supposed to look like this. Did I apply the wrong textures again? Table gets sewing machine table base color. Huh. So if I had to guess, I'd say these textures are named wrong. I think, no, I have no idea what's going on here, because this is the sewing machine and this is just the table, but when we apply the sewing machine table stuff, it just comes through wrong. So let's try just applying the sewing machine. No. Okay. I'm not sure what is happening here. This sewing machine table texture, like, it actually appears to be the right texture. I think the UV map is just wrong. Oh, look at this, UV1. Does that do anything? No? Okay. Well, yeah, okay, so I have no idea. This is kind of unfortunate. It means we will probably not end up using the Willowsby machine. Because the table is just totally messed up. Let's try, you know what? I see a different set of textures here, which is kind of interesting. Let's create a new folder and we'll just call it temp. We're going to pull all of these textures into temp. And then I want to try pulling all of these into the source folder. And let's just see what happens when I pull that in. No, it looks like these are actually the exact same. It's got the same issue. Yeah, okay, so there's, you know what, it might actually be the materials in here. So one of these things is going to be the table. It's this one right here. And this has the material set as table. I'm just curious, if I set the material as sewing machine, no, it's still, the UV is all wrong. It is not properly applying the right set of UVs. It's just showing the entire texture splayed out across the table. Okay, so basically, so far as I can tell, the Willowsby sewing machine is a bit of a wash, because it doesn't seem to really matter whether I set this to UV set 0 or 1. It's just wrong. Okay, well, that's too bad, because this is a beautiful sewing machine and I would have really loved to use it. But you know what? This is kind of a medieval sewing area, so I might even not end up using the sewing machines. We might just have the spinning wheel and like needles and threads. You never know. So poor Willowsby sewing machine. That had a lot of potential to it. That was like the most beautiful one. So we're going to delete the Willowsby sewing machine. And we'll try the young child's thimble. So we'll pull in the thimble. And I have to go in and extract that. So 7-zip, extract here. Remove that, and then grab these three and drag them into Unity with the right mouse button so it imports them properly. Get rid of the zip file, we don't need it. And then let's go over to this sewing machine table right here and pop another thimble on it. This thimble is not there, so we're going to middle click Control-Alt-F. Okay, and this thimble is too big. So we're going to hit model. We're going to uncheck that. I don't have any faith that it's going to do anything because that appears to be broken right now in 2019.4 LTS. The most stable version with actually, honestly, 2019.4 LTS, I have found more bugs in it than I have found in any other version, which is kind of ironic because it's supposed to be the most stable. Let's find our thimble small here. Make it 0.1. Middle click, Control-Alt-F. Still a little too big. So we're going to make it 0.01. Still a little too big and way too high. So we're going to middle click, Control-Alt-F. There we go. Okay. And And so this looks like maybe it needs to be 0.001. Apply that. Middle click, Control Alt F. There we go. Now we're cooking here. So what we want is a rotation of probably -90 around the X. Wow, this is really hard to see. Okay. Nope. Perhaps we wanted 90 around the X. Nope. Oh, actually that's perfect. Okay, good. We'll hit F to focus on that, and we'll just move it up a little bit, and maybe actually rotate it this way a little bit. Okay, I am pretty happy with that now, actually. So middle click, Control Alt F, hit F to focus, move it up a tiny bit. There we go. And now we have a couple thimbles sitting on the table, and I'm pretty happy with that. So we're going to move this into the props folder. And there we go. And I think that was actually the last of all the props that we had to test. So we're going to take the young child's thimble. We're going to move it in here. And the last thing we have is the sewing mannequin, which I have to go figure out how to do the exports on. And I will do that sometime when I'm not streaming, because it might take me a while to figure out what we need to do there. So this is pretty good. I'm happy. We got some really cool assets, you know. We got like a bunch of bone needles, some bone buttons. We have like a bunch of yarn we can use. Plus we have like a bunch of thimbles, threads, nice sewing boxes, and a sewing wheel. So now the only thing left to do is actually go through and make the Tailor's Guild, and that is going to either be offline or for another episode. So as always, I hope you enjoyed this. I just really wanted to record this episode. I know it was a little bit long, but typically there's a lot of cleanup that has to be done when you're importing all of these really cool assets from sources outside of the asset store. And so it's just nice to know, you know, how do I do that, and what do I need to do to clean these things up if I want to use something that's not just really easily drag and drop into Unity. So as always, if you did enjoy it, then don't forget to thumbs up the video, subscribe to the AnyRPG YouTube channel, or just leave a note in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.